To text or not to text? That is the question. Let's start with a quick exercise. Those of you with iPhones, please pull them out. I give you permission. And apologies for the Android users in the audience. The operating systems differ according to carrier, so we can follow up after class if you want to go through this yourself. So step one, please go to Settings, and then click Screen Time. Okay? I know this is a scary way to start your day, but next, go to See All Activity, and then click Messages or WhatsApp, whatever the primary application is that you use to communicate. And then take a look at your daily average, so the amount of time you spend per day texting, and how many notifications you've received so far today. I'd like to start with Molly. How many texts have you received today?
201.
Granted, it's her birthday, so I'm sure she has more than average. Would anyone else like to volunteer just a quick notification count so we can get a good level set?
Yes, I have 1 hour, 28 minutes average time spent on WhatsApp.
Wow.
I don't have notifications because it's
Okay.
always off.
Okay, that's a good tip as well. I think that it goes without saying that texting is a very central form of communication for all of us here at the GSB. And for many of us, we've been texting since we can remember, since we were 11 or 12. And it goes without saying that it's kind of secondhand for us. But there are a lot of tips that are really important to keep in mind as you think about why and when to text.
Oh, sorry. Right, so this is the first question that we will try to answer. And in the coming few slides, we will try to address each of those questions. So the next one is, how many of you can relate to this image? Just by show of hands. Okay, the majority of the audience. It doesn't have to be the same numbers, but it indicates that we tend to have like a significant amount of unread messages in our mail inboxes compared to the text messages. Researchers have been struggling trying to understand this phenomenon. Both text and emails are just form of text communications. Why we tend to respond more to text messages compared to the emails? It turned out that human tends to perceive those text messages as if it's someone knocking at their doorsteps. You immediately respond to them. We also perceive those messages as if they are higher priority. They tend to be more conversational, more personal, concise, fast, doesn't need much time to respond to. On the other hand, emails tend to be low priority, less urgent, longer. Some of them are boring. The majority of them are spam. So no wonder why we just stopped to respond to those emails. And with that, I think Danny will continue on the rest of the questions we have.
Yeah, and I think that echoing other teams who have already presented today, it really does start with aim. Who is your audience? What is your intent? And how are you going to communicate that message? As we were doing our research, I came across this quote that really stuck with me, that communication channels affect and express our character. Show of hands, has anyone here gotten broken up with via text? Yeah, it hurts. It doesn't feel good, and if anything, it really reflects poorly on the person. That's happened to me 7th grade in high school and in college, and I can definitely relate. So this wouldn't be a presentation without a matrix in the business school, so I figured that we would have two axes that would help us to kind of triangulate on the right method for the right message. So on the formality side, of course, texting is much less formal of a method than snail mail or email. And then on the immediacy side, a phone call or a Snapchat, it elicits a pretty direct response right away. So as you think about what you're trying to convey, who you're trying to talk to, and what you're trying to get across, stop and think, what is the right method for this message?
So texting, like any other form of communication, has its own set of norms and unspoken rules. Number 1, timely responses. Like Moutaz said, if someone is knocking at your door, you can't just let them be. Rule of thumb is to respond within 20 minutes. And if not possible, even in the worst case, make sure you respond before the end of the day. If you're busy, it's really easy to set up an auto reply. Thank you for texting me. I will be able to get back by the end of the day. Rule number 2, double check. I cannot emphasize enough, but double check your message before clicking send. How many of us have been victims of the autocorrect mishap? This poor guy got autocorrected while introducing his girlfriend and said she's pregnant instead of saying she's perfect. And he did get into a lot of trouble. Show of hands. How many of us have sent a message to an unintended receiver? I know, me too. Again, always double check. Number 3, do not disturb. Always check the time at the end of the receiver before sending the message. If you're asking for a favor at 4 a.m., chances are that you're not going to receive it. Do not double text. If it is super urgent, just pick up the phone and call. Texting, unlike most forms of communication, is super obtrusive and disturbing. Here's an extreme case, but this was a guy who suicided because he was bombarded by almost 47,000 texts from his girlfriend. Texts can cause severe trauma, distress, and anxiety. Be mindful and do not double text. Number 4, use complete words. Just take 10 extra seconds and please type out the entire message. Don't text like a teenager because you will lose your credibility. If you have to use abbreviations, know that you know your audience and also make sure that they understand the abbreviations in the same way as you do. Here's an example where mom breaks the news of the great aunt passing away using lol. Well intended because she thought lol means lots of love, but this doesn't always work. Number 5, mind the tone. As texts are never accompanied by all the nonverbal communications and the gestures, the only way to read text is through emoticons and punctuations. Ellipses or the small dots are used in place of filler words like in spoken communication. Periods in text can be rude or insincere. Exclamation marks increases sincerity. And emoticons can express, but also widely misunderstood. For example, studies show that this message is perceived much less sincere and in fact rude and formal instead of this, where it's almost the same text. Now, are you fluent in emoji? Take a guess at what this could mean.
Give good news and check your inbox for really bomb good news.
Any other?
I just phoned the newspaper office.
That is the range of understanding a set of emoticons. Well, it is close. To check your email, big news, but maybe not convey it this way. This is a popular movie, if somebody wants to guess. Yes. That's correct. And one more.
Nice job.
So these are the 5 golden rules of textiquette. And now let's focus on the application.
Yeah, let's put this rule into action. So with the business school, we thought about a couple of applications that every one of us we will end up with. The first one would be in the workplace, whether it's appropriate to use text in the workplace or not. So there are a few rules to the application of text messaging in the workplace. The first one is only text within the business hours. It's not okay to communicate some text messages outside business hours, specifically if they are business related. Second one, make it brief and only important messages that you are trying to communicate. It's still in the workplace, the main norm is to communicate via emails or through face-to-face communications. Don't use personal material, whether it's photos or text, with your direct reports or with your bosses. There is a rule of thumb here, which I believe very useful. Use material that you will feel confident if they got published in the company newsletter. And I think, yeah, this rule of thumb can be applicable on whether it's with your bosses or with your direct reports. And another one on the don'ts, so don't text during a meeting. The meetings are meant for face-to-face communications. If you are during a meeting and you start to pull up your phone and keep texting, even with the people within the room, I think it would be perceived as impolite. The last one is actually just a true story, and it's very funny. I didn't believe that this happened. A company was sued last year by a client who was inquiring about the life cycle of a certain product, and one of the customer support responded just with thumbs up that this product can last for 10 years. When the product didn't last, the guy went to the court and sued the company, and he used this emoji as a confirmation from the company that the product should last for 10 years. California Supreme Court acknowledged the emoji as an acceptable form of communication, and they passed the case as an acceptable case. In the company's defense, they went back and said that if the same client would have asked the question through email, they may have responded with more elaborate about the warranty and disclaimers, how long the product should last. But I think the takeaway message here is don't use emojis in the workplace. And Danny will take us through the other application.
Yeah, and this is another one that's near and dear to my heart, is love and texting. So this primarily is related to new relationships, so keep that in mind. First tip, do not drunk text, please, whatever you do. And there are actually some really great apps that you can download onto your phone that can block you from texting certain people at certain times to kind of keep yourself accountable, so look into that if you need that. Second, tone is hard to translate. We've already talked about this, but particularly with a new relationship, do yourself a favor and just avoid reading into text, especially when you're trying to get to know somebody. At the beginning, stick to logistics. Don't try to get to know someone really well via a long, drawn-out text conversation. Save the initial communication for just setting up a time to meet in person. Do not define the relationship or break up via text, please. And then finally, don't overthink response time. I think that people often get really hung up on trying to wait an appropriate amount of time to not look too keen or play games back and forth. And I think it's best and easiest to just communicate as freely as you feel is appropriate, while also not double texting whatever you do. So with that.